Okay, impact of finances. This is really done after you've done your break even and you've done your cash flow. And it's an explanation of basically what those figures will mean and what impact they'll have on your business. So let's go through this. So remember, cash flow is focused on examining how much cash you've got in your business. If your closing balance is positive, you do have enough cash to meet your debts. If the figures are negative, it shows you don't have enough cash to pay your debtors. So if it's positive, it means you can pay your debts. If it's negative, it means you don't have enough cash to actually meet your debtors. Remember, for this, you're going to look at your closing balance. So that's what's highlighted here. It's taken from a student's one a few years ago. And his closing balance was 2,649, so he had enough money to pay on his debts. So that's a positive. If it's negative, it means your business may become insolvent. Now, insolvent means basically you won't be able to pay what's coming up, and you won't be able to actually, make ends meet. You won't be able to. People will call back their loans and they'll cause you issues. If you've got money in the bank, it usually means you'll be able to keep operating. If you can keep operating, you might be able to become profitable. Consequences of negative cash flow, now this goes for pretty much every area that we're talking about, is higher cost of credit. So it means it's higher to actually go and borrow. People are less likely to lend to you, so you'll be seen as riskier if you've got a negative cash flow. You could become bankrupt, which is another negative. It's hard to secure money to invest in growth, basically meaning long-term financially you won't be viable. So if you have got a negative figure, you need to think about that. But this is good analysis, though, if you can include this. So trading profit and loss shows that you are making a profit or loss in the business. So the trading profit and loss shows that you're making a profit or a loss for that business. So to do this, you need to examine the net profit. So net profit is the gross profit minus the expenses. In this instance, it's negative. Again, it means very similar issues to cash flow. It is normal for a small business not to be making a profit, but obviously you'd want to make a profit as quickly as possible, especially if you're to survive long term, because it means your business model is essentially flawed if you don't make a profit. The balance sheet says what you own or what you owe. So if it's positive, it's what you own. So basically you own a set of assets, and that can help you with certain issues. It means you can also borrow against those assets, so it can be very advantageous to have a very big asset sheet. It also means you could probably sustain negative cash flow, and you could also sustain negative profit for a small period of time, because you could borrow against your assets, and that could help you out in a difficult time. If it's negative, it means you're building. Basically, it means you own your buildings or your lenders to someone else. This means that can actually make your business insolvent. However, it depends on how big the business is. So, for example, you might borrow money for your mortgage or something like that, or your rent on your property. Those are big issues which you need to factor in and you need to put in. A negative set of assets doesn't necessarily mean your business is bankrupt straight away, but it can be hard for you to borrow money and things like that, because you haven't got anything to borrow against, and also it means that you're stretching your borrowing potential at that time. You need to really look at the closing capital figure on the balance sheet, which is at the end of the balance sheet. So you click on the tab and then you find closing capital. That's the figure you need to use. Now, with all these figures, you need to stick them into the cash flow, the analysis section, and you need to describe what's happening. So the closing capital, closing balance, and the net profit, you need to use those figures and highlight what those issues are.